I'm so glad that you've joined me. This is Women and Alcohol Live, and I'm your host, Nancy McKay. I'm so glad that you joined me today. And what I'm wondering about, I have a question for you, and that is how is alcohol affecting your life? When I work with my clients, we work to explore their relationship with alcohol. And we do that as a team, and we do that by looking at their thoughts and beliefs about themselves when they're drinking, before they think about drinking, and after they've been drinking. And so it really brings up um, some incredible information for the client. So I wanted to share with you today some things that happened to me and that I remember when I was still drinking and wanting to not, or to, you know, before I stopped drinking, there was a period of time where I didn't know what to do. And that was because the alcohol was creating a barrier between me and me living my best life. It was it was almost palpable. It felt like I was walking through a fog. And it's it just prevents you from, what I found was it prevented me from doing the things that I really wanted to do at a deeper level. So there was this element that I had that was just out of reach. So, I could certainly go party, and I was, having fun in my life. I really did have a good time. But then when I would stop and ask the big questions like, what is my purpose and why am I here? And gosh, deep philosophical questions, I couldn't ever find what I was looking for. I couldn't even begin to understand what was on the other side of that because of the barrier that Chardonnay was creating. So I just wanted to, bring that up and ask you if you've ever felt that way. If you've ever felt like there's something preventing you from living your best life. And if there's, what can you do about that? What are your options to change that? And what are you willing to do? Because that's really what it boils down to, is what are you willing to change to live your best life? And sometimes this means giving up alcohol, changing your diet, giving up relationships, um, not gambling. I mean, there's all kinds of addictions, right? And so, you know, th- this, when we talk about alcohol, not only does it affect us um, physically, but it also affects us in a um, in a spiritual way, an emotional way, and in a physical way. And so, when we uh, there's always an emotional element to any addiction. No matter what it is, chances are we feel badly about ourselves when we partake in whatever that addiction is. We will beat ourselves up. We'll, have a ton of negative talk, right? And so what I find is that we can change your thoughts about partaking in whatever that addictive behavior is. And when we do, we look at the thought and then look at the feeling that thought is creating, and then look at the actions that we took when we were feeling the feeling, thinking the thought, and check out that result that we're getting, right? We're drunk, or we've overeaten, or we've lost money at the blackjack table, whatever it is. So then, instead of beating yourself up, you just ask yourself, how could I do this better? How could I make this easier on myself tomorrow? And what can I do to change it? So then you look at a different thought. What could I think differently to make it easier for me to not do that tomorrow? What could I believe about myself? And when I think that thought or have that belief, then what feeling does that generate in me? And then what action do I want to take from that? Right? And then the result that you get is different. And we're not talking about doing something extreme here. We're talking about just a little bit better, just 1 degree, just a baby step different than what you did the day before. So that's the way I want you to look at how things are affecting your life. And when you get to the point where you feel really desperate or really down on yourself, right? Try to turn that around. Try to think a different thought that is going to help you move up that vibrational, emotional scale just a little bit. You can't go from incredibly depressed to jumping for joy in a matter of minutes or days, even, unless you're, probably ingesting some sort of drug, some sort of wonderful drug, right? The happy pill. But you can change that really down on yourself thought to, I'm doing the best I can, and maybe I can do just a little bit better. I can think just a little bit differently. So that's what I want to leave you with today. And I'm not sure if any of this resonated with you. I just know that when I was still drinking and knowing that my drinking was getting, not quite out of control yet, but I knew that it wasn't headed in the right direction. And I was concerned about it, not concerned about enough about it to admit that I was an alcoholic. I wasn't ready for that yet. And what I what I would love to do is to help you before you get to that point, before you get to that rock bottom. Because I don't believe that you necessarily have to get to a rock bottom. I did, unfortunately. And I think, there's a belief that you have to be desperate enough to change before you can do that. And maybe you do, but maybe you don't. And there's nothing better for me. Getting sober was the best thing I've ever done for myself. And so when I look at that and how much my life has changed because of it, I'm proud of myself for doing it. And I am so, I mean, I don't, it's unbelievable to me that I've been able to stay sober for over 11 years. I mean, I haven't done anything hardly for 11 years. So for me, it's a huge accomplishment. And it's the biggest identifier of self-love and self-compassion that I've ever exhibited for myself. So you learn that, you learn how to love yourself, you learn how to have compassion for yourself in this process. Because guess what? Right now, if you're over drinking, chances are you don't care too much about yourself. You don't love yourself. And we can change that. We can change that. So if you want a better life, if you want a better future, if you want to feel better, then give me a call. Send me an email, nancy@amazingoutlookcoaching.com, and let's hop on a consult call. Let's connect and let's see if you have the desire to change your life. And, maybe you quit drinking, maybe you don't, but we'll explore that and we'll see what your best options are for you. Not for me, for you. Okay? So have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, it's your life and your choice. Bye.